Welcome everyone. Welcome to my Thursday night live hangout on Google+. Tonight I have a very special guest for you that I'm going to introduce in a couple of minutes. But let me give you a couple of places where you can find our broadcasts. Let me pull this up here. We are broadcasting every Thursday night, wisewealthuniversity.com/hangouts, and that's on my website. I'll kind of, wrong hand, point over to that. So you can find us there. We also post on Twitter. So on Twitter you can follow me. I'm the Pink Professor, so hence the color. And we do training on Thursday night as well as invite guest speakers, and we also do Q&A. So that's all we have to introduce the topic. My guest tonight is on the East Coast, so he's up very late, and I appreciate him being up late and joining me. I'm in San Diego, and it's warm here, but it's snowing back in New Jersey where my guest is from, so I wore a sweater just to make him feel more comfortable. I didn't want to wear a tank top and let him know it's 75 in San Diego. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest. I've known Gerald Lucas probably over 10 years. We met at a real estate conference, no surprise there, and we kept in touch over the years, and I followed his career. He's an excellent trainer, and tonight, as you saw from the title, he's going to tell us about private lending and how he, quote-unquote, accidentally raised, what was it, $10 million in $100 million in private funding. So he's going to teach you how to be looking out for opportunities as they come your way, and probably raising private funding is one of the hardest things to do in real estate. So you do need a lot of coaching and training to do that. And in talking to him about setting up this interview, I found that we both have an ebook on finding private lenders and raising private money. So it is something that we try to train people to do, because once you've mastered that, a lot of the other things in real estate start to come together. So I'm going to put Gerald on screen right now and kind of ask him, his first question. So here we go. You ready, Gerald?
Ready to go.
All right. So Gerald is visiting us from New Jersey. He's joining me tonight to talk about how to find private money for real estate deals. So Gerald, what gives you the right to teach us about that topic?
Well, as you mentioned before, in 2001 I raised over $100 million in 6 months. So,
wow.
To give you a little background, I am a full-time real estate investor. As Janice says, I've known her for a very long time, and I've been investing in real estate for 15 years. I started out part-time, and then a few years after I started, I became a full-time investor in 2002. Just to tell you how I ended up in real estate, I really started out in investing in real estate accidentally. Just like I sort of accidentally raised $100 million in 6 months, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later as well. But when I graduated college, I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to do. So I wandered from job to job. I worked in, I had an internet business when I was in graduate school. I worked at different internet software companies. And after I graduated from graduate school, my mother, who's an accountant, was telling me that I should buy something so I'd get tax write-offs. And she persisted and persisted. And I was doing a lot of traveling at the time. So I worked for an internet software company. I was managing their products in Europe and Asia. I was traveling. And I said, I don't really have time. I was putting it off. She came and visited me on her week off from work and found a real estate agent to show us some properties. At the time, all I could afford was a small one-bedroom condo. Like I said, I was just out of school. And when I made an offer to purchase the property, surprisingly, my offer was accepted. So I had to use a credit card cash advance to pay for the down payment and the closing costs. But it turns out that the condo that I was buying had a tenant that was living in the property, and the tenant had a lease. And as I'm sure probably Janice or someone else that you've listened to who knows about real estate has explained to you before, when a tenant has a lease, that supersedes the transfer of title. So when I closed on this property, I had to wait until the tenant's lease expired to move in. So my plan was I just bought this condo because I was going to move into it. I had no aspirations, real estate aspirations at all, so that was my plan. While I was waiting for that lease to expire, my tenant's lease to expire, I did some research and I noticed that similar condos, similar apartments in the area were renting for a much higher price than my tenant was paying. So I figured out what the market rent was, and as soon as the lease ran out, rather than moving in, I did the math, and I realized that if I increased my tenant's rent to the market rent that the new rent that my tenant would pay would cover my tenant's, would cover my mortgage payment, cover my monthly condo fee, and then leave me with a little bit of money left over at the end. So rather than moving into the condo, I increased my tenant's rent to the market level, and I became, instead of an owner-occupant, I became a landlord. And so at that point, a light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, wow, I could keep doing this, right? Or I'll try to keep doing it. So at that point, real estate really became my passion. So I tried to learn as much as I could about real estate. I had a Carlton Sheets course my mom did that she let me borrow that I listened to. I read a lot of books, and I sought out the advice of local investors with experience. So as I said, I've been a full-time real estate investor for more than a dozen years now. I've invested in many different types of properties, from I've owned, bought, and sold small condominiums. I was a condominium developer in the mid-2000s. I've owned apartment complexes, single family, two family, multifamily. And then in 2011, I co-founded a REIT, which stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. And that's where I raised $100 million in 6 months. So I guess that's a long-winded way of answering your question, what gives me the right to talk to you about private funding. What I will say, I know $100 million sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, and it may scare some people up. You don't need to raise that much money to invest in real estate, and I certainly didn't when I first started. I raised $100 million after I'd been doing real estate for 10 years. But it can help you if you're able to raise money, and once you understand how to raise money, it doesn't matter the dollar amount, the process is the same. And we're going to talk about that. I'm really excited to talk about that tonight.
Okay, great, thanks. And I'm glad you clarified when you raised the money, 2011. When you first started, you said 2001, and I thought, how did he raise the money before he even had experience in real estate?
No. Actually, I bought my first property in 2000.
Okay.
And then I did investing part-time. And then in 2002, I became a full-time investor. I raised $100 million in 2011.
Right. Okay. Good. After you had some experience, that's good.
Exactly. Plenty of experience. You don't need $100 million, but once you figure out how to do that, and we're gonna go through that tonight. Talk to you about how you can raise money, the first steps that you need to do, how to overcome obstacles and roadblocks, etc. But it certainly helps you if you have access to additional real estate capital.
Oh, excellent. Definitely true. So Gerald shared with us a little bit about, I'll get myself back on screen here, how he got started. He's not going to tell you all his background, but I do know that he went to MIT for business school, so he has some business background, and he's certainly applied business techniques to his real estate business, which has been quite helpful. He's also a best-selling author, and he's the author of 2 books involving real estate. And so we'll share those links with you later, and some of them are, if you're watching on different networks, they're in the comments below, like on Facebook or Google+. I did put the link to his books in those comments, and he'll tell you a little bit about them later in the show, and I'll also share his Amazon author page where you can download those books yourself, too. And then he'll tell you a little bit about his company and how he got started. So The other question that related to your background, Gerald, is tell us a little bit about what kind of challenges there are to doing real estate when you don't have lenders. That might kind of set the tone for people that are starting out.
Sure. You can invest and make money in real estate without lenders, but having access to capital gives you more options. So when you find a good real estate deal, this is what I teach my students, you want to try ideally to have more than one exit strategy that you can use, because you don't know exactly what's ever gonna happen, right? There are lots of contingencies and things can lots of contingencies and dependencies. So you want to have as many exit strategies as possible. When you have access to additional real estate capital, it just gives you more options. Whereas when you don't, it doesn't mean that you can't do anything, right? Because you can capitalize on real estate without any money. You certainly can do that. But if you have access to capital, it just gives you so many more options. You can make more money. You can form partnerships, and you can make money and do right by other people. And then that lends itself to more people wanting to do business with you, which in turn gives you access to additional capital.
Well, I think you answered my second question there, which was, why is it such an important piece of the puzzle for new real estate investors in starting their business? Well, you can probably go into for a little bit why the private money is more important than some other monies you might be able to find, and maybe do a little comparison there. Okay.
Well, I mean, there's lots of different finance sources for you as a real estate investor at any level of experience. So obviously, people are familiar with traditional bank loans. There's credit unions. There are hard money lenders and other sources. But what's great about private lenders is that with a private lender, unlike say with a traditional bank, you're not paying for a lot of overhead that you don't need. Also, when you borrow money from a bank, you don't really have much flexibility. You can't really negotiate with them. They're going to say, this is the rate that you get, take it or leave it.
Right.
With a private lender, it's an individual, so it's a negotiation. So long as you provide the value to them, and a lot of that just has to do with doing as you would with a seller or anyone else, and that's asking, probing questions diplomatically to find out what it is that they want. And they may not be a good fit for you, right? Everyone's not necessarily going to be a good fit, but you want to try to talk to people and find out what they want, look at the deals that you have access to, and then find a win-win situation. But with private lenders, in addition to taking on debt when you buy property, you can also partner with people and as an equity partnership. And in some ways, as an investor, that's safer for you because you're not paying interest.
Right.
So if you have an equity partner as opposed to taking on debt, or you're borrowing money and you're paying interest either while you own the property, and maybe if you're rehabbing or whatever, and then if you have an equity partner, it's just a shared ownership. So regardless of what happens, you share in the gains and the losses, but you don't have that huge debt burden over your head. So again, with private lenders, the sky's the limit in terms of the kinds of deals that you can do. Whereas with other lending or finance sources, you really don't have that kind of leeway.
And I think you can do a combination of the two. I like to keep it simple, and so on my private lenders, I pay a set interest rate. When the equity types of deals come into the conversation is when I have sort of a more sophisticated or experienced investor who says, well, I really, I'd want some upside in it. Yep. So I explain, in other words, first all the work that goes into doing the deal, and that's kind of how we as investors get paid. But I say if you want some of the, the equity position, you have to realize now you're taking the risk that it can be good or a not so hot deal, and you won't make as much money. And so that kind of twist, you know, sends people back to, well, I'd really just want a guaranteed fixed rate because then I know what I'm going to make, as opposed to taking a chance, because that's what we do, is we take the chances. So it's just a conversation with what people want. Some very sophisticated investors that are developers or used to be investors themselves want that equity position. So.
Yep, it really depends on, you know, for me as an investor, it's a number, whether it's equity or, you know, debt where you're paying interest, right? So it can work either way. And like you said, some people are more risk averse, right?
Yeah.
Other people, you know, other people are thinking, well, what am I missing? Just, you know, lending money. And of course, there's pros and cons.
Right.
And you can structure the deal either way. And you know, with my students, I you know, teach them how to do it either way. But that's why it's so important to understand your private lender, you know, what they're interested in, what they want, and then you structure the deal from, you know, based on that, find the intersection between what they want and what you want.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so let me move on to the next question, which would be, how would a new real estate investor get started finding their own private lenders? And just kind of give us a step-by-step plan. How would you suggest people go about doing that?
I'm going to give you 3 steps that you can take. The first thing I would suggest is take inventory of the people in your personal network. You know, when you ask people, you know, how would I raise money? Who would I ask? You know, you know, a lot of times there's so much underneath your nose that you just don't think of and consider. So take inventory of the people in your network. I can almost guarantee you that someone either in your network or someone that they know would be interested in lending you money for real estate. I can pretty much guarantee that. I've never seen it when I go through simple exercise where you identify all the people that you know and figure out how you know them, what they do, what their occupation is, you know, that type of thing. You'd be surprised. That's the easiest way. You start with the lowest hanging fruit. Don't make things any more difficult than necessary. So I would say, you know, do that, right? Because that's the easiest way. You can also obviously borrow money and form partnerships with people that you don't know, but it's easier to do it with people that you already know. Friends, family, colleagues at work, I've found to be some of the best partners. Because, you know, they know you from work probably as well as anyone else. There's not as many, you know, sometimes with family and friends, there's emotional issues that, you know, that potentially can get in the way. But with a work colleague, you already have a business relationship kind of anyway. Right. So, you know, those are, I think, oftentimes those are the best kinds of private lenders. So I'd start, take inventory of the people that are in your network. Then look at your experience, right? So depending on how much experience you have, you've got to make a powerful case to this person that they can, you know, earn a return in money and work, you know, working with you, investing with you, right? And if you don't have that experience, that's okay. You can partner with someone who does have experience. Right. So I teach people that too, because they just bring the money to the table, but you're partnering with an experienced real estate investor, helping them just find some money. Yeah. Now, sometimes people have experience, they just haven't gone out to try to raise money. If you've done deals before, if you've bought properties, rehabbed them, sold them, you know, if you have a beta, if you've got, you know, tangible experience, then you can say, well, look, I've done X, Y, and Z. But of course, nobody starts out with experience anyway, right? We all started with 0 experience, right? So if you don't have experience, find people that do, and then partner with them. And then in your pitch to a potential lender, you can say, well, I'm working with a group of investors or a consortium of investors, and while I don't have that much experience, I'm doing a lot of the legwork and grunt work. A lot of my partners have, and they've done X, Y, and Z, etc. Right? So, you know, you want to think about your experience. If not, you want to partner with someone who does. And then the third step is you want to prepare a compelling, powerful presentation or an argument. And you want to do that before you go and talk to a private lender, right? So you want to figure out what kinds of questions is this person going to ask. And the easiest way to think about it is to think, well, what if I was lending the money? Right. What would I be afraid of? Put yourself in that person's situation and say, what would I be afraid of? What would I be concerned with? Write all those things down and make sure that you've got a good answer for those things. And if you're not sure what to say, then you know, find someone like JNS or someone who's got experience, who's been in the trenches, is seasoned as a real estate investor, who's seen these kinds of situations, and they'll be ready so that you're prepared going in. And that's really the most important thing, because you have to gain their trust. They have to believe that their money is safe with you. And that's really your big challenge. So those are the, you know, the first three things I would say. Take inventory of your network. Look at your experience. If not, identify people who do have experience that can partner with you, and then begin to prepare a powerful presentation or argument.
Good answer to that. So I'll just do a little demo here. So start with this. Start with your phone. Go through the contacts. Go through your email list. Figure out who you know, right? You know, and the other good point you made is looking at it from their point of view. So they're going to want to know, am I covered by insurance? Am I covered by a deed of trust? You know, what's the paperwork like? How do I do it with my IRA? So it's good to look into that or find someone else who knows how to do it.
What happens if something happens to the property? Like, what if the property burns down or whatever? Like, you have to be able to answer those questions. And there are very good answers for those questions. And I'm going to tell you another interesting point too. When I raised $100 million, we did a roadshow presentation, went to different cities and talked to different investors. And one of the things that I learned from doing that is that oftentimes the people, the potential lenders who ask the most questions or ask the toughest questions end up investing the most amount of money.
If they got good answers.
Exactly. Right. So when you get those tough questions, don't, you know, your instinct may be to be, oh, this person, you know, I'm not going to, you know, that's not, you know, they're not necessarily being negative, because in many cases they're asking those tough questions because they want to believe you.
And it shows their interest. They're more interested.
Exactly. And so that's an opportunity for you.
Right, whereas other people that don't say anything aren't that interested. So.
Well, they may or may not be, but I'm just saying that one of the things that I learned that after a while was that, you know, a lot of times the people who ask the tough questions that may seem skeptical are the ones that end up investing the most. Once again, you have to gain their trust. It's their money, it's not yours.
Right.
You have to start with that, with, you know, being humble and understanding that it's their money. You have to convince them. You have to gain their trust. And once you figure out how to do that, you can do it over and over again.
Right. Once you raise that money, and what I find is people might start with a small amount. So I always say, well, you know, here's the minimum we let people start with, and then they'll increase it the next time once they've built that confidence.
Yeah.
I think one of the other misconceptions new investors have, I have people ask me this all the time, is, can you send me some of your private lenders? And I try to explain that there's a reason they're called private, because they know me and trust me. So you have to develop your own people that know and trust you.
Yeah.
Because they're going to lend to you. They're lending based on the relationship. I mean, the deal has to be there, but they're really lending on the relationship because they're not real estate investors.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is in terms of, you know, a lot of times people will say, well, yeah, you give me your private lenders, give me your contractors and general contractors. The problem with that is that, again, put yourself in the other person's situation. If you were a private lender, would you want the clients that you work with giving your phone number out to like every Tom, Dick, and Harry? Probably not. Probably not. And so, you know, plus the other thing too is even if you gave those people those numbers, those people wouldn't necessarily invest with you just because they invest with me.
Mm-hmm.
You have to gain their trust separately anyway. So
Right.
again, you're better off doing that with people who already know you. If
Right.
I gave you, right, if you gave someone the number of a private investor who knew you, Janice, and
Mm-hmm.
invested money with you and trusted you, when they talk to the person you gave the information to, it's a whole new relationship. You're still starting off from scratch anyway. I
Right.
mean, you give them a referral and say, well, I know this person. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, you have to build that trust. And so you got to learn how to do that yourself. But once you do that, it's such a powerful thing, and because profit in one deal begets profit and more money in other deals. So
Right.
if you make money for one person, and he or she is out talking to their friends, and they're like, oh yeah, I did this deal with Janice, and
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit concerned at first, but you know what? You made money. How much money did you make? And then all of a sudden you get calls from like two or three people. Then
Right.
after a while, you got a line of people who want to do business with you. That's really how it starts. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say absolutely. I mean, some of the private lenders I have, their mother invests, their girlfriend invests, but they're the ones who started because they were my friend. But then, it goes from there. So it's or someone's brother will hear about it and say that's a good idea. So it really is based on those relationships that
Yeah.
you know about. So
And you got to protect them. You got to protect your investor
yeah, and
trust.
that's kind of why a lot of these new things where they want you to mail out letters to and people who just invested cash and have mortgages recorded at the county recorder's office, they don't have a relationship with you. So they've invested with someone else. I mean, every once in a while, one of my lenders says, "I got a postcard from this guy. What should I do?" I said, "It's just marketing. Throw it away." So that's it's really developing your contact list is what you need to work on.
Exactly. And that contact list is going to be useful to you in lots of different ways.
Right.
Potentially money from other people. They're going to know people in their network,
Mm-hmm.
other real estate professionals, maybe in terms of building your team of your real estate team around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your attorneys, appraisers, contractors, surveyors, etc. If you're going to be successful in real estate, you're not going to do it by yourself. You're going to do it with a team of competent people that you can rely on to do different things and to give you advice when necessary.
All right, so let me ask you, well, the next question is what specific roadblocks would you see come up for a real estate investor who's starting out trying to raise their own private money?
By far, the biggest roadblock is never taking the first step.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, by far, that's like 5 times as big a roadblock as all the other ones.
Right.
Um, you got to ask. Or I always tell my students, you have to be a pain in the ask.
Mm-hmm.
Ask, right? If you don't ask, you get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You could be in a room with 100 potential investors that are chomping at the bit to give you money. If you don't ask them, you don't get any of it.
Right.
It
Right.
is as simple as that. I think Woody Allen said like 90% is showing up. Like that's really ask. So, and that's, as an investor, you need to be doing that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in your network needs to know who you are and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Janice. I'm an investor. I'm in San Diego. This is what I focus on. You tell everyone. And then after you tell them again and again and again, because people need to hear multiple times. Because people aren't thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves and what
Right.
they want. So to get on their radar, you got to repeat yourself. So you got to ask. You need to have those conversations. As in terms of building relationships with potential private lenders, but in terms of everything, if you're going to be a wholesaler, you need to build your buyers list, right? So
Mm-hmm.
those buyers, those rehabbers, if you're going to wholesale a property to them, they need to know who you are, what you do, what areas you focus on, how much experience you have, all those kinds of things. So taking the first step, I think, is the biggest obstacle by far. I would say another big one is following up. The
Mm-hmm.
idea that you're going to get money from someone after the very first time that you talk to them.
No.
Well, I mean, it's possible,
Yeah.
right? So you shouldn't expect that, right? In general, right? They say in sales in general, sales are made in general like 2% of the time in the first contact.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to follow up. That's what a relationship is. Your friends. How many times have you talked to them? Once? No.
Right.
I see you over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
and as you see them over and over again, too, there's another thing too. People are concerned that, all right, well, what if my pitch isn't all that great? Well, you got to work on your pitch anyway. You got to practice it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start somewhere. We all have to walk essentially the same road. So the sooner that you get on that road, the sooner you're going to become successful. So work on it, practice it, but you got to practice it in real time with people too. As you follow up with them, your pitch will get better. So that even if you don't convince them at first, as you continue to talk to them and improve what it is that you do, you're going to have more confidence. You'll have more deals to be able to show them. Say, well, I've done more deals, I've made more money, I have more contacts, etc. But you need to start. So biggest obstacle, making the first step. Then following up, and these relationships, if you do them right, they can last forever.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least for the rest of your life. Put it that way.
Right. Yeah, I'd say one of the things that I talk to people about, and I know you've got this kind of an ebook on private lending, and I do too. And there's some tips and tricks in there. We're going to share those, the links to both of those ebooks at the end of the presentation. But I know one thing that I, excuse me, have to get people to do is to change their mindset about private money. And I noticed it when you said ask. I want people to think that you're not asking someone for money. What you're doing is providing them with an opportunity that they can't get anywhere else. They can't get this at a bank. They cannot earn this kind of money in any other investment. And so you're presenting an opportunity just to your friends. So it's really an exclusive chance for them to get a better return on their money. You're helping them out. So once you go into it with that mindset, it changes what goes on in your head as you talk to them, because you're providing a service, really.
That's right. I mean, you want to be respectful and humble, but you don't want to go with, be, hat in hand, because you have to believe in what it is that you're offering.
Mm-hmm.
And in most cases, it's a pretty darn good return, much better than they're going to get in a savings account, right? Or most traditional investments. Also, right. I find that deep down, a lot of people, regardless of how much they know about it, kind of are interested in real estate investing. It's it's sort of sexy.
They watch late night TV.
Exactly, and so they're like, yeah, that sounds interesting. I'd like to know about that. So, that's a good start. And then you tell them about one of the things that I do when I, talk to private lenders. I don't necessarily even ask them for money at first. You want to just tell them what you do. Tell them about the deals that you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them about, I'll say, well, I just did a deal. I bought it at this price. I sold it, later at this price.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is the kind of deal. Is this the kind of deal that you'd be interested in?
Mm-hmm.
You give them an example, right? Because that's what they want to know. It's like, okay, what, how much money? They're going to say, well, how much money could we make? How long would you need the money? What could happen? This again comes down to you being really prepared and being able to answer all those things. And if you can't answer those questions, you're going to be a better, real estate investor anyway, because, if you understand those things, it's going to help you deal with the unexpected things that can always happen in real estate.
Mm-hmm. And I find, based on the trust issue, like usually what my lenders will do is the first deal we do, they go there and look at it. They kind of check it out. They come back several times. They're kind of watching their money, really. Mm-hmm. And then when I talk to them later about another deal, I say, oh, in that house, we did this. And they said, I never saw that one. So they really concentrated on the first one till they felt comfortable, and now they invest in several properties with me, and they've never seen them. because they saw the first one. So
Yeah,
that was
they
just
know.
them building their confidence in what was going on.
That's right, and that's why you don't want to ask too soon, right? Because people may not be ready. When people are ready to invest with you, or when they're ready to do anything, you kind of need to let them decide on their time frame, right? People like to buy, but they don't like to be sold.
Right.
And if you've got a really compelling case, which you should, if you're doing it, and you're not sure how to make a compelling case, or then you need to work with experienced people who do. But all the deals that I have, they're really good deals. That's why I'm doing them. And so I can make a case for them, and that's a really big part of it. And you want to make sure also that you make money. So you want to make sure that you don't borrow money on a deal that may be a borderline deal where you may or may not make money, especially in the beginning, because that's when you really are building your reputation and your trust. So you want to make sure that your investors, you always want to make sure that your investors, you shouldn't be investing in properties that you don't believe in, but nobody bats 1,000, right?
Right.
But the whole point is, and you know this, Jan, is that, this, you can tell how juicy a deal is in terms of the spread. So I'm sure you've talked to your students about the market value or the active repair value. And, the more the potential profit there is in the deal, that's when, those are the deals that you want to bring private investors in, because you've got cushion for, whatever may or may not happen. And then you make sure that your private investors taken care of and that they make money. Because then, again, that's going to bring in more money from them and from people that they know.
Right, absolutely. So, yeah, the best thing for you to do is keep your private lenders happy, and once they make money, really, they do just keep coming back, and it becomes a longer term. As soon as they get the money back, they say, when can you put it in another deal?
Exactly.
So that's what they want.
And that's what you want. Then they'll be calling you. What do you have? What are you doing? Do you have, that's where you want to be. And once you show them, then, with profits, then you're really good to go.
Right, and it's definitely true what you said. Once you're on their radar screen, say they haven't invested, but you've talked to them about it, and you've given them specific information, and they're not at the right time, or they haven't thought about it, something then will usually change in their life, and they think, oh, maybe I do want to get that return, or the stock market goes down, or they got laid off, so now they don't think of that money as, just tucked away. They want to make sure that it's working for them. So when circumstances change in their life, then they're ready. But if you never had the conversation with them, they wouldn't even know about you, so they wouldn't even think about it. So, you just keep yourself in the forefront of their mind that, yes, you're an investor, yes, you're doing deals all the time, and, they could invest with you when they're ready.
That's right. So that's how you want to try to, as you said, maintain top of mind position so that when they are ready, you're the first person that they think of. That's what you want.
Right.
When they're ready to invest, you want to be the one that they pick up the phone and call.
Right. All right. Well, let's look at the time here. So let's go on. So what specific strategies would you recommend that kind of can unlock these roadblocks for investors, especially people starting out? Any specific strategies that they could use to kind of get over the hump of getting started?
Well, I think marketing yourself is really critical, because again, the key is to be on their radar screen, and you do that by repetition, right? That's the only way, right? So if it's someone that's why it's better to start with someone who's already in your network, because they already know you. Right, so you're already, in their mind on some level, and that's, makes it easier than someone that you don't know. But the marketing, I think, is really key, so that they're thinking about you, and they associate you. You want your potential private investors to associate you with making money in real estate. So when they think of Janice, you want them to think Janice making money in real estate.
Real estate,
That's,
right.
that's the connection that you want. And then you want to share your successes. So talk about the deals that you've done, or if you're new, talk about the successful deals that the more experienced investors that you're working with have done. So they close a deal, they make a certain amount of money. Let people know. Let your prospects or people that you're talking to, or anyone, that you talk to, know about those deals. Because then again, they'll be thinking, making money in real estate, and they put those connections together. And maybe they're not interested in investing in real estate, and that's fine too. But there's so many people that are. You just need to find. You just need to find them. They're out there. There's more than you could ever need to fund every deal that you have that you could ever find.
True, because if there wasn't, they wouldn't have those popular TV shows, flipping houses, and because people watch those, they're curious about it, so
right.
They're out there.
That's right. And then unlike a lot of those shows, though, you want to show them that these are real deals, and the more real information and evidence that you show, the better. I want to say something else too, which is a little bit contrarian, but helps a lot in terms of getting people to really believe in you. Is don't be shy about talking about the expenses or the risks associated with real estate too. And I learned this kind of early on when I've been a serial entrepreneur for most of my life. And it's counterintuitive, but in your mind, you're thinking if you're making a pitch for a real estate investment or for any kind of business, you want to just talk about all the positive things.
Right.
But the problem with that is that everyone knows that things can happen. And anyone who's run a business or done anything knows that, things can happen. And so you want to talk about all the expenses. You want to talk about the potential risks and downsides and things that can happen. Because those things, even though they're negative, they're going to help, make people trust you more because they're already thinking about some of those things anyway. So if you don't address them, then they're going to think that either you're hiding something from them,
right,
or that you don't know what you're doing, so you're not aware of those risks. So
isn't that called the elephant in the room?
Yep. So you want to put all that stuff out there, and so long as you've got a plan for dealing with those things, for mitigating those risks, and maximizing the likelihood of making money, which is what everyone wants to do, that's going to help you. It's not going to hurt you.
Right. So, and one thing that I like to do that keeps people on the radar screen is I do a little spreadsheet with an example deals. And I think what you said just touched on, I didn't realize, why I was doing it or that it fit into what can happen. So on my spreadsheet, I started out with just one example, and you want to use the median or average price in your market because each market's different. And then show them where the money comes from when you buy it, sell it, your expenses, and then what they make. But I also have a spreadsheet that has a really good deal, kind of a medium, and a skinny deal. And on the skinny deal, it shows that they still get paid their interest, I just don't make that much money. So it kind of shows, yes, it can vary, but you're going to get paid. That's how it works out.
No, I think that's a good idea, and I think that if you equity partner with someone, you want to show. I mean, obviously, if they're getting straight interest, then they get their money. Period.
Yeah.
I think that's powerful too, to show that your interest is really with them first, to make sure that they get paid. But if you equity partner with someone, you don't want to hang out there at like the best deal that you ever did, because then that's going to become an anchor, and they're going to expect that much.
Yeah.
You want to show the average deal, or to be honest, I'd probably show a slightly below average deal, so that you can over deliver on what it is that you're promising. Because if you do that, then then you're really going to satisfy them, and they're going to want to do business with you more.
Right, right. And when I say that it's the best deal, I mean I go and I clarify why, and it's because something came up after the original negotiated price, and we renegotiated because of something we found during inspection. So we got a super deal really because of that. So I explain why that one was it was an outlier. You know, it was out of the ballpark. So.
And also by sharing that additional information, think about what else that does. It shows them that you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, one of the most important things. Does this person know? That's like the basic. Does this person, I'm giving this person money. Do they know what they're doing?
Right. Right. It's all about, and even on the skinny deals, I will say, well, this one, we planned for X amount, but we really only made this much because the market went down, the buyer wanted closing costs, a lot of different things happened.
Yeah. Or
and
there's
so
a
it
home
shows,
inspection issue, yeah.
right, and you
Anything,
show that there was plenty of room in the deal so that we still made money. It wasn't a great one. So it's pre-calculated ahead of time to make sure that you don't have losses. Right?
Yep.
So let's see. So what step do you think, kind of a real physical action step, something they could do tomorrow morning to kind of get started on the road to finding investors? What would you have them do?
I touched on it before, but I would have them write down an exhaustive list of everyone that they know.
Okay.
And I would say revisit it.
Mm-hmm.
So sit down at one sitting, write down everyone that you know, walk away for a while or whatever, go back to that list, and you'll add new people. You go, I forgot about Jim, I forgot about Janice, I forgot about Heather or whatever. And then you want to start with that list. Or if you got a phone?
I just take the phone, I'm holding up the phone so you can see it. You take your phone and you start going through the contacts and you write down who would be a potential. Go through your email list, and so that way it kind of jogs your memory so you don't forget everybody.
And I would also
go ahead.
I would also add that sometimes you know people, but you don't really know them that well. Like you know them through someone. Like you'll think to yourself, oh, I met so and so, and he was talking about real estate. Maybe he would be a good potential private lender, but I don't remember his name. So you write your friend's name, and then describe that person or that circle of people, right? Because at the end of the day, we have circles of friends and groups of people that we know, like people through work or church or the school that we went to, or someone who lives in the neighborhood, or someone who takes part in an activity, the same activity that we're into, or your kids' soccer team, parents who are whatever, right? When you think about it, there's a lot of people that you know that you might not think about. So that's really the most important step. And then I would say even beyond that, continue to add to that list, make it a living, evolving list over time, and then as you work on your pitch, you want to engage these people.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I do is if people are nervous about it, I have them almost say, I know you're not interested in this, or you might not be interested, but do you know someone who would like to do this? So you're actually not asking that person directly, you're asking them if they know someone who would, almost under the assumption that they don't want to do it themselves. So, that's another way to kind of take away the nervousness to get started.
That's a really good tactic. And then also, that person may feel uncomfortable if you directly asking them. That way, by making it, someone, then they may feel more comfortable about doing it themselves, or they may just, sometimes people, don't want to be the first one to jump in the pool, and they'll tell other people about it, and then they'll invest, and if they have good results, then they'll end up doing it later on.
Right.
So you want to. You want to keep telling people, but you obviously you don't want to badger them. You want them to to make a decision on their own terms and on their own time frame.
Right, right. And sometimes when you ask them, do you know someone, they'll say, well, what about me? Oh, you might be interested. Oh, okay. And then you start the conversation from there. So it's kind of an indirect. I think Ron LeGrand started teaching that a long time ago. It's an indirect way to ask people
Yeah,
how
no,
to
that
get
makes a
started.
lot of sense.
So we've gone through the private lending. I think it's time for you to give us your story on how you raised the 100 million in 6 months. You know, the accidental raising of the money.
Okay. Well, I was not long after I released my first book, which is called Short Sale Specifics, which is a homeowner's guide to short sales.
Mm-hmm.
I was approached by an Australian pension fund friend, guy who I'd grown up with, was a managing director there, and they were interested in investing in U.S. real estate, and they knew about my book and my background, and they wanted to basically give some exposure to U.S. Real estate for their pension clients for a number of reasons. Number one, real estate in many places back in, this was December 2010 when they first approached me. Real estate prices were down. We were still sort of in the throes of the financial crisis. And at the same time, the Australian currency was overvalued, and real estate is a good hedge. So they approached me. The reason why I say I accidentally raised $100 million is because we initially intended to just raise $20 million.
Okay.
And I put a plan together, presentation, and a local team to make it happen. They came out, I presented to them. My presentation turned into a prospectus, and then we did a roadshow presentation. I traveled around different cities in Australia. We intended to raise $20 million. I was the chief investment officer. We ended up, after a few weeks, we had over $70 million. Within a few months after that, it was over $100 million. So, you never know how much interest you're going to generate or how much money you can raise. But the intention was 20 at first, and it became 100 really fast because, we made a really powerful argument. And to my earlier point, I wouldn't have been able to do that had I not had plenty of experience working with private lenders for many, many years.
Already, right.
Exactly. And I had to because, when I first started as a full-time investor, I didn't really have any of my own money.
Well, even if you do, you'll run out eventually.
Exactly. You run out really fast, right? But either way, it's like I had to develop that early on, and it really, having done that for a very long time, when this monster opportunity came along, I was prepared. And so that's the way anyone who's listening right now, that's how you should think about it. It's not, you should immediately go out and start talking to people, telling them what you're doing, because you never know when an opportunity, a potential opportunity is going to present itself. And as I said before, successful real estate investors, successful entrepreneurs, they don't find opportunities, they create opportunities. And there are opportunities within your network. There are potential private lenders within your network of people. You just got to find them, you got to talk to them, and you've got to ask them.
Absolutely. Good point. Good point. I think it's a good time to, should we show where they can find your book and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I've written 2 books. Gonna probably do another one at some point this year as well. My first book is called Short Sale Specifics. It's on short sales. The second one is called Dare to Succeed, which I co-authored with Jack Canfield, who's the creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series. And both of those books are available on Amazon.com. So I think now you're showing that's my YouTube channel. That's my YouTube channel. So
that's your YouTube channel. Okay.
I do a weekly Ask Gerald video series where I answer a real estate questions posed to me. I have a podcast as well, and I think I gave you the link to
There's a
that's the
podcast.
podcast. That's my podcast. It's got probably about 70, almost 75 entries there.
Let's
And I
see,
do
71 exactly.
71. Okay, I do that on a weekly basis.
And let's go to Amazon.
Yep, that's my Amazon page, and those are my 2 books, Dare to Succeed and Short Sale Specifics. And I have a free case study on how I accidentally raised $100 million, where I go into more depth about the kinds of properties that you should be looking for, some of the pitfalls and dangers to look out for, the kinds of private investors that you want to kind of target and look for, and really how to convince them and make them comfortable in with lending money to you. So if you go to my website at geraldlucas.com.
Oh, okay, not performance property.
Now go to geraldlucas.com has my.
Okay, let me do that.
Yeah, geraldlucas.com has the case study. Yep, there you go. And scroll down a little bit. And there it is. So,
okay.
How I accidentally raised $100 million. So, just opt in there. You get a free case study, and you are on your way.
Right. So it doesn't show on the screen, but again, it's up there in the corner. So it's geraldlucas.com, and then you can just opt in, and you'll get the PDF coming in there. Let's see, since we're talking about private lending PDFs, I'll see if I can pull up my site as well. I'll put you back on screen to talk while I try to find the other ebook that I have on that. So we can give them lots of ebooks tonight.
Yep, lots of reading. But that's a really important part of being a good investor. You really got to educate yourself.
Here we go. So since I didn't have that one up ahead of time, I'm going to go through my WordPress site and grab it and then post it for you. So and if they want some education, it would not be on the Gerald Lucas site. They could go to your performance property site. Is that right?
I would say no. I got blog entries on geraldlucas.com, and actually on geraldlucas.com they are searchable. So I've got lots of content. I've got real estate tips. I've got real estate insights. I've got videos on all sorts of real estate investing topics. Unlike on performance properties, what I did was I recently launched geraldlucas.com because I have a lot of really good, useful content. It's not as searchable on performanceproperty.com. So on geraldlucas.com, we redesigned that to make it easier for you to find the real estate topics that you're interested in learning about.
And I've done a similar thing lately because I had energy-wise properties, but now I use that mostly for my quote-unquote my business in terms of remodeling houses and rentals. And the education part, which like what you've done, is I moved that over to a site called Wise Wealth University. So so all the education part that you need is on the Wise Wealth University site, and that way I'm the same on Facebook, Google Plus, and just about everywhere. Wise Wealth University, it's the same name on Facebook and G Plus and the site. So you can go to this part of my site. It's called wisewealthuniversity.com, and we'll put the links in the comments below, and then /PV lending. So just a P and a V, and then the word lending, and you'll get to this opt-in page, and then you can get my ebook. So mine comes with an ebook, and then there's a 10-day e-course, so you keep getting reminded, just what Gerald said tonight, you get reminded to look in your contact list, and you get reminded to contact 3 more people that day and what to say to them, and then you get another email about contacting 5 more, so you're kind of building your list for those 10 days after you get the ebook, and it just helps you implement the information that you got instead of, we don't want you to put it on a shelf and forget about it. So that's the ebook, and then let me switch back to Gerald's page, and that's where you can get his ebook. So lots of free information tonight, and that's the case study. And there's some good basic investing, beginning investing tips in there. It's not just about raising money. I noticed when I read through it. So definitely targeted towards, getting started. It's not telling you how to raise that 100 million right away, but how to get started is what you need. So, well, Gerald, do you have anything else to share with the audience tonight?
I guess just to reiterate, get started. Procrastination is really your biggest enemy. So don't worry about not knowing everything or making a mistake.
Yeah.
Just get started, and that's really the key.
Right, and the other thing to remember is, get started, and it's not going to be perfect the first time. You have to start somewhere. So, doing it mediocre the first time is okay. It's not going to be perfect. So just,
it's better than doing nothing. Doing something is always better than doing nothing.
That's the expression I was trying to think of. So I want to thank you very much for joining us. I know it's late there.
Thank you for having me.
Almost 11, I think, in New Jersey, and Gerald's headed out of the country in a couple days, so he was able to really help me out tonight and squeeze me in on this particular date. Next week, we will not have a hangout. It's school vacation here in Poway, so we'll be taking a break. The following week, I have another partner who's going to come in, and we're going to revisit the topic on rehabs. So he's going to come in and talk about how he's remodeled 400 houses he used to be in Orange County, and now he's up in Sacramento. We remodel houses up there in California, and so he's going to talk about remodeling, how to save money and not lose money on your fix and flips. So we'll really focus on the budget and fixing properties, and that's the topic. That'll be in 2 weeks. So Gerald, I want to thank you very much for being with us tonight, and thanks for sharing your website. I know you have a busy schedule, and good luck with some of the new speaking engagements. I know as an author, you'll start getting invited to be on the stage.
Well,
maybe tell us where was the last. I noticed on your website you had a couple of speaking engagements. So tell us, where was your last speech that you gave?
I think the last one I actually gave a presentation on private lending at a local real estate group here in New Jersey. So
excellent.
We got a full plate this year. I'm actually putting on a 3-day real estate success event, April 17th, 18th, and 19th here in Secaucus, New Jersey. And like I said, if you're interested in private lending, GeraldLucas.com. And I know that you've got a great ebook as well. But really, investing in yourself and in your education is the first step to being successful in real estate.
Okay. How can they find out about that event? Is that on one of your pages? Which one?
We're about 2 months out, but if you opt in, you'll obviously get information on it, and I'll be putting a press release out and doing. You'll definitely know about it, but we're more than 2 months out now, so not aggressively promoting it yet, but
right.
We've got the dates and we've got the place, and again, it's going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday in April 17th, 18th, 19th in Secaucus, New Jersey.
So if you're in the area or you want to fly in, it's near the airport. So I would just get on Gerald's list, get that ebook, and then you'll get emails periodically when he does a new event or speaking engagement. So,
correct.
Gerald,
correct.
Again, thank you very much for helping me. I'm going to sign off now, and everyone have a great evening. Let me just share, what we do every week. We do a hangout at wisewealthuniversity.com/hangouts. If you sign up here on this website, you will get an automatic email telling you when the next Hangout is, what the topic is, and it's every Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, and it's 9 p.m. Eastern Time before you have to go to sleep. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm the Pink Professor on Twitter, and that's where we post things. I'm also on Facebook, Wise Wealth University on Facebook, Wise Wealth University website, Wise Wealth University on G+. Oh, and Wise Wealth University on YouTube. So there's lots of places that you can, find links to all the education that we offer. And I hope to have you back again, Gerald. I know you're good at negotiation, and you'll share some of your negotiating secrets with us.
Oh, it'll be my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. My pleasure.
All right. Thank you, Gerald. Thanks very much, and good night, everyone.